This video is brought to you by Holocasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description. Hello and welcome everyone to our 129th session of Holocasa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Tamairo Moutry, a Milwaukee native and dynamic force in real estate. As a keynote speaker, author, and CEO of real estate companies in 4 states, Tamairo has been in the industry since 2004. She's also a mortgage loan officer at Texana Bank with experience in teaching and mortgage services. Tamairo owns multiple real estate firms launched between 2013 and 2019 and has sold over 100 properties in a single year. She's a real estate instructor, investor, landlord, rehabber with a focus on first-time homebuyers, new construction, and luxury properties. Tamairo, I'm really happy to have you on the show again. I just said it before we started recording. I love your vibe. I love your energy. I have been always thinking back to our first session. What you're going to throw out there today, I know already it's going to blow many people away. So the floor is yours. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, thank you for having me again. It's been quite a while, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to get on here because I've been watching you grow as well. And we need to start doing more networking and getting together like this. So I'm happy to be back, and I'm looking forward to further sessions that you may have with everyone. I continue to
Absolutely.
keep adding on everything to my arsenal. And I'm up to about 21 real estate related income streams, and I'm still adding.
Tell us about yourself. To the ones who haven't watched the first or listened to the first podcast show, give us a quick overview of where you're coming from. How did everything start on your real estate journey? What do you do regarding real estate business, but also investing regarding your cash flow, generating real estate units, which are very impressive to me. And then also maybe a quick rundown regarding your top women in real estate.
Okay. So I got in the real estate industry way like 20 years ago. And I was an elementary school teacher. And my schedule was obviously not the greatest. I had control over the students that were in my classroom, but unfortunately, my son had some behavioral issues. And that was one of the reasons why I opted to leave corporate America. But before doing that, I became a real estate investor. That's where my journey started. I started with a 2-bedroom single family home, and the market was good around that time, so I was able to do a cash out refi. And a lot of people don't even know they can do this. If you have an existing home and you've had it for a while, I did a cash out refi twice within 1 year, and I was able to pull out $68,000 within that 1 year. And look, the rest is history. Because after that, I continued to purchase and buy. And prior to me leaving, I ended up with 50 doors of real estate around that time. And that I said that once I was able to replace my elementary school teaching career, that salary, then I would no longer stay at the job. And then after that, I ended up getting into the mortgage business. So this is my, again, 20th year in the mortgage business. But the market crashed. The market crashed around 2008. And after I had become a loan originator and then became a mortgage broker, I owned my own mortgage company. And then I had to close because everything was frozen. Then shortly after that, that's when the market actually picked up. And there was a new wave of lending that came along, which is what's now private money lending, aka DSCR loans. So I've been heavy in DSCR and working with real estate investors and doing the buying and the flipping and coaching and mentoring and training anyone who's interested in doing it, especially people who are out of state and especially people who are out of the country. These people want to know how to invest, and that's part of what I do as far as that coaching is concerned.
you didn't have the savings. You pulled out the 68K refinancing from the existing real estate, from the only unit basically you had a mortgage on. And tell me if I'm wrong, if I understood it correctly. And then basically this allowed you to focus fully on your new dedication, basically the real estate investing, but also allowing you to obtain the mortgage broker license. Did I get that correctly so far?
Pretty much. So, teachers, well, in some places teaching is year round. So, what I was doing is I had a 10-month assignment. And during the summers, that's when we're able to have a summer off. So, I knew that time was coming up and I paced myself. And what I was actually doing during that time was just making sure that I had enough income streams lined up. So whenever I did leave, and I wouldn't just be relying on one real estate related income stream. And, my mind just said, keep on going with everything different. All of it is the same, but different things that's real estate related. And I was able to catapult off of that, and that is how I have at least the 21 plus income streams now, is because I was able to do the refinance, take the cash out at that time. And that is how I came over to start buying investment properties, because no, I did not have any money saved and I did not know what I was doing at the time. To be honest, I actually had an older brother who was in prison at the time, and he was actually the one that told me that I should get into real estate, but I didn't know what he was talking about. So I kind of got online. I started watching YouTube. I started getting around like minded individuals. And this is what any and everyone else should be doing. If you want to go in the same direction as someone else, then you need to get to know those people, whether it's in person or social media. After you get successful in that realm, then you can start going into other areas that may not have anything to do with real estate, because people also don't understand that you need to be networking with everybody after the fact. You may be the only real estate person in a room with a tech company that came to town and you went to that convention, and they may ask what space you're in. You may not have anything to do with that, but you're the face in the room that talks about real estate. And somebody might say, hey, I'm interested in real estate. What can you tell me about it? Before you know it, the whole room is interested in what you have to say.
Makes total sense. One question regarding the refinancing. So you basically then had to pay, obviously, to a bank a certain interest rate for that loan you took out, correct?
Yes. So there's other ways you could get the money out, and lots of people like the HELOC, which is the home equity line of credit. But I did the cash out refinance. The difference between those two is, if you do a cash out refinance, you get a lump of money. And yes, your interest rate could go up, it could go down, or it could stay the same. It really depends on what's going on in the market at that time. Everything is based on your income, and it's also based on your credit scores. They look at how you paying your bills. However, on the investing side of things, which is extremely different with the private money lending and DSCR lending, they don't look at the income that you're bringing in. They don't care about your debt ratio on those deals. You're able to do those loans in your business name, your LLC name. So that's been the game changer for a lot of real estate investors who don't have a job, a 9-to-5 job per se, because we don't ask for any pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, any of that. So that's what changed the game for a lot of people. A lot of people ended up in this position because they looked and saw that the banks weren't lending around that 2008 time when the market crashed. They were able to come up with this new way of doing business where they're only looking at it as being asset based. They're only looking at it as what income producing, and looking at what kind of cash flow is coming in on the property to qualify you.
You create your LLC, you put in the money there, and then you're basically doing the purchase via it, and then you also retrieve it from there, correct? Or do you create the LLC afterwards during the refinancing process?
You can do either one. Either one works.
Got it. Makes sense. Sorry for the follow-up questions there, but I'm just like curious to also understand the details there because it's very interesting. So then you had like your lump sum of money and then you were sort of free and then you went like, as you said, like opening more doors and how many real estate units did you have like within the next 2 to 3 years after you started?
It didn't take me long. I think it took me like about maybe 5 years, and I ended up being up to about 50 doors by then. And all of that happened prior to me leaving my teaching position.
Did you down payment was like 20%? Is it normal? Is it normally the ratio in the US?
Actually, it wasn't that back then at the time. A lot of people were doing a lot of different things back then. So, I didn't have to use a full 20% down, which is why I ended up with a lot of properties. We were doing things creatively. You know, Owners will be willing to hold what was called a seller second or a second mortgage and things like that. So we didn't always have to come up with it. And you don't always have to come up with it now. It's kind of the best way. Or if you get a partner, that partner would come on the deal with you and provide you with the down payment if you don't have it. Some people have what's called a credit partner, and then there's your money partner, and they band together as a team because maybe one can't move without the other. Sometimes the person has great credit, but they just don't have the down payment to do it. And you just add that person onto the LLC with you, and they're able to help you out with that deal. It's called a joint venture, JV.
When selecting units, what is your main rule of thumb to select the right units? Is it a certain cash flow generating ratio on top of or as a ratio from the purchasing price? Is it a certain type of unit? Is it multi-tenant? Is it less family owned? Is it apartment? Tell me more about that.
So everyone has their preferences. And I'm going to talk about and explain the pros and cons of each, because there's a reason why, and there's a method behind everybody's madness. And my rule of thumb is always this: no matter what the purchase price is, no matter what type of unit it is, this is just my preference. I like to be able to clear after all bills are paid, whatever. I need to have at least $500 cash flow per month. Lots of people don't mind to do 2 or 300. I don't really care much for that ratio, only because anything could go wrong on the property that could wipe out all of your profits in a year. But if I were to take a property like that, the reason would be because that property is a high appreciating asset, which would mean that property would have a lot of equity in it, and that would be a decent reason to have a lot less cash flow. Because keep in mind, if you got a property that has a lot of equity in it, but not that much cash flow, you still could go and pull the equity out of that property to buy more properties, build equity on the next property. And this is what keeps the ball rolling. This is what keeps the ball rolling. This is what keeps people to becoming wealthy by being able to do that. When you pull this cash out of the property, that money is not even taxed. If you flip and sell a property, you'll be taxed on that. You have capital gains taxes on it, unless you do what's called a 1031 exchange. But every time you pull cash out, the reason is because it's debt, it's a loan. So that money that you're getting back, you're not taxed on it ever.
It's very interesting what you're saying, and I'm really impressed by that. Do you still operate on your own? I'm asking because I have many people on the show who then create their own investment vehicle or investment company, and then they bring LLPs into the game. Obviously, by that, creating higher volumes and making bigger deals. What's your approach there?
I'm glad you asked that question, and I'll finish. I'll go back to what I was supposed to be finishing up. I know I get off on a tangent, but What I want to tell you is all of my investing has been pretty much alone, or with my husband, because I do a lot of other investment vehicles like wholesaling and things like that. And that's a whole nother story. So I'll be back on for another episode to talk about other forms of real estate investing that I've done successfully or even unsuccessfully or whatever. But I normally do my own LLCs and I usually invest by myself. I had not really been open to doing many projects with anyone else because uh, I don't know if I've not really trusted people enough. I guess I'm listening to some people's horror stories. I have clients with horror stories, and it just doesn't rub me the right way. And they're in court now fighting because of a deal they went in with somebody. It's too many people that have those horror stories for me, so I just kind of walk alone. Other things that people can do though is there's something called a REIT, and REITs, what they do is they come in together and buy, certain parts of the property or whatever. They have the crowdfunding going on. They have all types of things, and also the syndications. I'm very familiar with all aspects of it. I just have not dwelled into it myself. And I wanted to go back to the different pros and cons of the different type of units because I didn't want to get away from that. The singly, people have their reasoning behind single families. You also have to look at what the big boys are doing. There's a lot of big boys out there that are buying only single family. Why is that? Reason being is a lot of people are staying in those properties much longer than they would a multi-unit. You got to think about it. It's only one family in there, one attitude, one hot water tank, one furnace. You know, they normally pay all of the utilities. There's an opportunity always for the government to pay the rent for that tenant, and they pay a small portion of it through the Section 8 program or rental assistance program. They're lower income people, and people have their pros and cons about that too. But a lot of people invest in single families because they are sometimes higher appreciating assets in certain neighborhoods too as well. You might go in one neighborhood. I can speak on Milwaukee as being one of the areas. That's one of my main investment places. In Milwaukee, you can go to a place that may have single families and duplexes in the same area. But what happens is when you start doing your numbers and looking around, you'll see that in that area that a single family may be much more valuable in that area than a duplex. So that's another reason why some investors they lean towards the single families more. They're a lot more easier to manage. When you start dealing with duplexes, now you're dealing with two hot water tanks, two furnaces, two of everything, two families. You got two families that's squabbling and fighting and kicking and shouting. He's in my parking space and he's got people on my porch and he didn't shovel his side of the snow or he didn't cut the front grass or whatever. You don't have to deal with all of that with a single family. The reason why a lot of investors like duplexes and other multi-units is because in a duplex, if you happen to have two tenants and one stops paying and you have a mortgage to pay, that other tenant is going to cover that mortgage payment that you have. The flip side of that though is if you have two privately paying people, when I say privately, I'm talking about people that are paying the rent on their own without any government assistance or whatever. If two people decide not to pay, you're in that same spot. But if you have a government funded program that a person is getting for their rent, you don't have to worry about ever coming out of your pocket to pay that mortgage because that tenant is in place. And if the other tenant stops paying, no big deal because you have the majority of your mortgage being paid.
I know many people who say, yes, that's true, that there's a lot of noise, a lot of work related with multi-tenant stuff. But it's exactly this dirty work which all the wannabe successful real estate investors don't want to do and where you have the money. Of course, you have to invoice the hours, basically your own legwork. And it's sometimes tedious. It's a lot of struggle and it's a lot of work, but in the end, bottom line, it gives you a higher return investment. Where's your position there regarding contracting a property manager or an administrator? I don't know how you call it in the US, or doing it on your own, or even fully neglecting the multi-tenant ones and going rather really for the single family ones.
I tell all of my clients, if you can, diversify. Maybe a new person coming into the field is maybe thinking to themselves, well, I'm really not sure what I want to do. Why don't I just do 1, 2, or 3 of each? So with my portfolio, I have a wide range of different properties. I own 3 units, 4 units, condos, single families, and duplexes, townhomes. I have a little bit of everything.
Coming a little bit to the area where you are operating, I mean, there's not really like the one area. Give us an overview actually of all the states you are licensed, and also you're operating, and also you're investing.
So my main investing area is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It has picked up a whole bunch of steam over a lot of years, and I think that that's one reason why our prices have appreciated the way that they have, because somebody dropped the dime on Milwaukee. What I mean when I say somebody dropped the dime is somebody started talking about Milwaukee as being one of the top 10 places to invest right now. And the reason is because you can still get a property for a reasonable price, and you have good rents on those properties, and your cap rate is always good. For the people who don't understand what the cap rate is, a 10% cap rate is a good number for, and a lot of people are having a problem doing that. That's one reason why I have this specialty now, where I'm working with out of state real estate investors who don't want to invest in the area that they live in because the numbers just don't work. They may not work for you to flip a property. The numbers don't work for you to have a renter. The numbers don't work for you to do a cash out refinance, because if you do put a renter in there, you're still in the red and you're coming out of your pocket to pay the mortgage. So all of these people have decided, let's say California, we know the numbers are large there. And they say, hey, my one house costs me $1 million. Some of them are saying, hey, why in the world would I spend $1 million here in California when, hey, Tamairo, you told me that I could get 18 doors of real estate for that 1 million. You need $200K down. Of course, you'll need your upfront costs. You'll need your closing costs if the seller doesn't help with it. But for $200K or a little more than that, you can get roughly 18 doors of real estate that will bring in anywhere from $5 to $7 a month, depending on what the rents are. And that's after you pay all of your taxes, insurance, mortgage, and everything. So those are the considerations with people being in areas that are high cost and they just can't compete with the numbers that are there. This is why Milwaukee has been a staple in the community, where you can get numbers that work that way.
Where do you see the trend in Milwaukee and Wisconsin? Going further.
Up. And there's something that I need to really discuss with you about Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There was a specific zip code that every investor decided to run from. I'll tell you which zip code it is later on down the line. And maybe if people are listening, they may want to embark on it, because I'll tell you what happened with me. I'm always a person that will go in a different direction than the crowd. That's just me. I dance to the beat of my own drum. I ride my own wave all the time. I'm not always picking up on every single trend and going with the masses. So that's what happened here. So what happened with this zip code is everybody kept saying that this zip code was the worst zip code in the nation, and it was located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What they were saying about the zip code is that, the zip code had the most crime, the most the highest incarceration rates and things like that. So nobody wanted to invest over there, lower income, whatever. But I said, you know what? When people run in one direction, I'm running in the other direction because there's always opportunity that people miss. And because I did my homework and I knew that there was a 5-year plan going on that a lot of people did not know about. And it's a lot that a whole lot of people still don't know about that zip code. But I'll tell you what happened to me. Investors, they nudged each other in the rib and said, no, we don't want that zip code. So what happened was I was in a Facebook group and I told the people, because I was buying at the time, I said, send me everything you have in that zip code. People were laughing, arguing back and forth with me, saying, how I was foolish for doing it. 2021, someone reached out to me on Facebook inbox and said, Tamairo, my cousin is in trouble. Do you buy foreclosed properties or about to be foreclosed on? I said, absolutely. Yeah. Tell me what's going on. They didn't tell me what was going on. She said, well, here's my cousin's number. Just call her. Comes to find out, I can condense this and make it kind of short. The mom was really sick. She was in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and she had all of her debts consolidated. Comes to find out, she was so sick that she had stopped making the payments. So the city of Milwaukee was coming in to actually take the property, and I only had 5 days to act. So I found out that, I did my little due diligence that I could do. It was something called a letter report. And with that letter report let me know what type of liens were against the property without doing a full title search. I took the property on with the back taxes because that's what they were taking it for the back taxes. And I turned around and picked the property up for $6,700. You wouldn't believe what that property is worth now. We're talking about 3 years later. I paid $6,700 for it. It's a side-by-side townhome, 3 bedrooms and 2 baths in each unit. And that property is now worth $232,000 in a zip code that nobody wanted. People ran from it. So all of those investors should now be kicking themselves. I just saw a property in that same zip code. These were areas that the properties only sold for $5,000. And now properties are selling for $180,000, $200,000. They're up in the higher numbers now. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. So, everything is a risk, okay? It's almost like gambling down at the casino. It's a risk, but it's a great risk for you to take. And, I just tell everybody, as far as you failing or whatever, some of the greatest people failed. And sometimes that's the only way you can learn and grow, how you can learn how to do things better for the next time. But I've just never been a person that would go in the direction of a crowd. And that's one of the reasons why I do have a $6 million real estate portfolio now. And by the way, I'll tell your listeners that zip code is 53206. They even made a movie about it.
I think there are two things to that. The fear of talking to the wrong people, basically being exposed, being afraid, being maybe a little bit arrogant to say, no, I'm worth more. I have higher value than to even bother about those zip codes, because this is not real estate is luxury, is bling bling and stuff. So they just don't want to do it because those apartments probably they're just run down. They're rats. There's something where you just first and foremost need to go through, and yeah, it is not shiny, but it makes money. That's one thing I think. And the other thing. Oh, go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, I'm laughing at you because everything you're saying is correct. But now I'm sure there's a lot of investors that refuse to do it, are kicking themselves right now because these properties are actually selling. Part of that 5-year plan was for some of the banks to put money into the neighborhoods, and that's what some of the banks have been doing. They created programs to create more homeowners. They also are putting money out there for investors to invest in the neighborhoods to fix them up. So all of that has brought all the property values up in those areas. And even though it might not be the shiny diamond that people are reaching for, you got to think about it like this. Investors need to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And if it means you need to start in a neighborhood that you might not be too happy about, why not try to help a person out? And when I say help a person out, what I mean by that is you need to choose a niche. Some people say niche, whatever. Well, but what you do is you create a program where it's beneficial for you and for the community. And you say to yourself, you know what? This might be a terrible neighborhood right now, but why don't I get together with some of my friends so we can all turn it around? Let's buy these properties, fix them up, help some of the people buy these places, send our people to credit repair classes or whatever, and let's get these people's credit scores up. They make the money because they're working. Let's now sell these homes to some deserving lower income people where I can make a profit. They are getting a good home because we've renovated this place. And some people's minds just don't click that way. They just want no parts of it when they don't understand that that's where the gold mine is. That's why I run in the direction of opportunity. I don't run away from it. I run to it.
I think there's two more things to that. That's one keyword is affordable housing because of macroeconomic dynamics. We are simply going under a huge inflationary pressure, and people are looking and flocking into units which are just much more affordable. Also, obviously, the normal employed people, not someone who's on social welfare. And then there's the other thing that the investors, they go to a cocktail party and they talk, and they are oftentimes afraid to lose their face. And it's like lemmings basically working with groupthink. Everyone flocking into one thing and affirming towards one statement.
There isn't enough affordable housing out there for us and for individuals who can afford to live there. Not only that, the rents are rising. If we were to come together like a team, as I stated, and some people thought to themselves as a think tank together, and hey, why don't we pick some of these dilapidated properties up, fix those properties up for the community, and sell them at market rate, but make it low enough where the people in the community could actually afford those homes to buy? Then that'll be a great thing that people are doing for the community. And if you want to take it a step further, maybe some of these people might be interested in creating a nonprofit organization for it. That'll be one good way that, a business wouldn't even have to be taxed on that money if they were to make a nonprofit organization saying that their mission is to actually help people to get into homes that are less fortunate and they need affordable housing. They're doing a great thing for the community, and now all of the values will come up, all the neighborhoods will come up. But there are just a lot of people that don't believe. They don't understand that there's all kinds of programs out there that can help people to fix the credit. And again, they do have income and they can buy if given the opportunity.
Do you think there is a huge pressure on people still renting, especially maybe older ones who are just swept away in the market, and maybe sometimes even get kicked out because they are not able to keep up paying the new prices?
It's a lot of that going on, unfortunately, and it's really, really sad. However, if people are smart, they will continue to follow the trend. And you always like to ask me what are some of my upcoming projects. That'll be something that I'm going to definitely talk about later, and it involves shared living. So we need to get more into doing that, especially for 55 and older community and older seniors who can't otherwise afford to live in their communities any longer because of rent hikes and because of the mortgage hikes, and they're on Social Security. They may not have saved their nest egg, and they didn't get good financial advice. Maybe their parents didn't teach them, and they thought that magically after they retired that they would have enough money to be able to support them. And that just simply isn't happening for a lot of these seniors. And the problem is definitely existing right now in Florida. Um, we have that problem where the insurance is too expensive, it's too high. People can't afford to really live in certain places due to this. People are getting kicked out of their apartments because the investors are going up on the rent $200 and $300, when that $200 and $300 is what they really were using to make ends meet, and now they're right at the top and can no longer afford it. That's when shared living comes into play. And that's a lot about what is going on now, that investors are now seeing the need and feeling the need, and I'll be one of them. So
Regarding your services, you are covering many different things: development, mortgage broker, real estate agent. Give us an overview. What is your right now day-to-day job look like, and what are you dedicating yourself the most of all the activities you're dealing with within the 24 hours you have in a day?
well, my day normally consists of um, definitely social media marketing. It's a lot of that going on. I did do some delegating, and I do have some VAs that help me with a little bit of my flyers and some of my memes and videos and things like that. But I create a lot of my own content, so that's part of my day. A lot of the other days uh, and during the day depends on who's calling, responding. I got to be honest, my main niche has always been mainly working with real estate investors and having that one-stop shop concierge service. I have a lot of investors that reach out to me through Facebook, or they get referred to me. They need me to sell a house. It just depends on the day. No day is ever the same, and that's exactly why I love real estate. I couldn't fathom being somewhere where everything was nothing but just monotony all the time, or doing the same thing. And this is what works for me. This is why I have real estate companies in 4 different states. It's why I'm bringing on team members, and I'm bringing on realtors and real estate agents to work under my different firms, and they have the opportunity to become a real estate uh, REMLO. REMLO. What a REMLO is a REMLO, real estate mortgage loan originator. And they don't do all the same things like a regular MLO does. They bring in their clients, and we now have more control over the transaction. So you can actually be a REMLO, and you can be your real estate professional without having to give up your real estate license. So that, coupled with me, I'm a sales manager at Texana Bank, so I'm bringing in REMLOs to be able to bring business into the loan companies, and they're able to do their work with their own clients, become their loan officer, and be their realtor or real estate broker in the same transaction, no matter what type of loan that they're getting. And we have all these different loan programs, so I'm dealing with that. It's not no one or two things that I'm dealing with all day, every day. It's a combination of the social media, people reaching out about taking the course, and they pay me to take the real estate course. It's people reaching out to me about learning how to invest. It's people reaching out saying, hey, I want you to help me do a refinance so I can pull some cash out so I can buy some more properties. And then there's the people who are reaching out about buying their first home, walking through the process. And the other thing I didn't really talk much about is me having at least 15 Facebook groups. And that's where my
I was
clientele
about to
comes
ask
from as
you,
well.
I was about to ask you exactly about your top women in real estate community.
Okay. Yeah. That's my largest group. I started that group back in 2019, and I started it with the premise of really just reaching out to the ladies, because I consider all of us disadvantaged. You can get in some of these real estate groups on Facebook, and they really just they rip women's heads off. And they kind of just we just kind of didn't have too many spaces where only women could really just kind of band together and talk about real estate and talk about our issues and problems, and get help from each other without being bashed by a man, and men thinking that they are the only ones can succeed in this business. So that's what I created the space for us to talk about anything that's real estate related, work with individuals who may be a first time home owner, work with ladies who are real estate professionals looking for advice on their deals, a place where they can post their listings and perhaps open houses that they may have, a bunch of networking together. And I've really grown this space to over 21,000 plus women, and I'm looking at taking this on tour. And I want to go to the different states. And with that being said, my husband created that logo for my group. And that logo is a lady with her hands held up with a trophy and a house around it, because it is top women in real estate. The trophy represents being the greatest, and then the house. And it's a woman with the silhouette with this trophy being held up. I have created a clothing line and merchandise line for the group, another income stream. I'm doing my coaching, mentoring, and training in the group for any of the ladies who want a part of that. For any of the ladies who are interested in becoming an REMLO, they may have the opportunity to do that as well. And they have the opportunity to also get any type of leads that I may generate from the outside to bring in to any of the ladies who are a part of my group. So there's a bunch of opportunity within that group that a lot of the ladies don't even know is really coming right now. I'm sharing that with you right now because they don't know that I'm networking with other individuals that have a large following on Facebook. One lady has 209,000 followers, and she's putting a platform together in October for me to be the real estate and mortgage lady. And I'm able to get on a platform like this and talk to all of the buyers in the group, show them and tell them what they need to do. She's already doing credit repair with these people. Once the credit is fixed, then 25,000 leads come over to me for me to help get them to buy homes.
Thank you so much. Impressive. And I love the way you're creating and embracing your own communities and also able to monetize it. It's the one thing to bring people together, but then on the other hand, it's also important to make it sustainable. Now, real estate in, let's say, until end of 2024 in your areas, maybe looking towards to the 2025, what for trends do you see regarding investment opportunities? Maybe also political changes. What's there basically for you, which might drive different trends?
Again, one of the things is about the seniors that you mentioned. Lots of people are now doing shared living arrangements with people. I think that's going to be a huge, huge driver for that market for any investors that may be interested in doing that. You can rent out rooms to people. A lot of the group home things is going on. People can't afford the regular rent, so people are splitting the rents, and people are creating a space where older people can be and be safe. Assisted living facilities, because a lot of investors are looking to really monetize and make their dollar by having these assisted living facilities. There's going to always be buyers and flippers for the right opportunity that's out there. There's always someone who wants to make a profit off of a property that may not be interested in just the regular buy and hold realm. They may be just interested in sticking and moving. The wholesaling is still going to be around until they change it. Now, there are quite a few states that are outlawing wholesaling. And for the people who don't understand what wholesaling means, that is getting a property under contract that may be on or off market and getting it under contract for a price. Then you finding an end buyer to buy the property for much higher than what your contract price was with the owner, and then you get the money that's in between there. And it's a very lucrative business. In fact, and I said I was going to talk about that on another episode, but I'll give you a little snippet. Is that's one of the ways that I created a lot of my wealth, and that's one of the ways that I built my real estate portfolio, which is now the reason why the majority of that $6 million real estate portfolio that I have, the majority of it's free and clear because I was wholesaling.
Tamairo, I have had a blast having you on the show.
Okay,
You,
good.
you are inspiring me regarding jumping full time from your day job and going all in. I love your vibe. I love your energy regarding this one. You really make it happen. You are not only talking and there's nothing behind. It's really hard work which you have put in, but also with a very high level of intelligence and street smartness combined with proper calculation behind the Excel sheets, which materializes in the way you basically show. It impresses me over and over again. I really like always talking to you. Also, you are sophisticated with all your licenses. You know how to build communities to also make it to monetize it so that it is basically sustainable, and you know basically what you're talking about. Lastly, you are 100% authentic, embracing your own needs with the top women in real estate, and also there filling definitely a need because otherwise not 21,000 people would join your community. I always like to have you on the show. I really appreciate it. Are there any final thoughts and points you would like to share which we haven't touched upon yet?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. How wonderful for you to ask. What I would like to say is there's a piece of the puzzle that can always be missing for some other people saying, well, if I were to invest out of the country or if I were to invest out of state, how do I look for property management or whatever? I remember you asking me the question, but I probably got off on a tangent. And I'll say this: I am doing my own property management and I am doing property management for others. And I have a one stop shop concierge service for out of state real estate investors. My husband is a huge piece of this. When I tell you that he is the glue that holds this together, he's the glue. That's the brain of the operation because he's the one on the back end making sure that the tenants' needs are being met. He's making sure that the landlord's needs are being met. He's the one that has the crews to be put in place to make sure that things get fixed when these tenants complain. He's the one making sure that the rents get paid and the rents are distributed to the landlords and things like that. So he and I work together as a team, and he knows pretty much what I know because he's been in the business right along with me for the last 20 something years. So we make a dynamic duo and a dynamic team, and that's how everything is all closed in together.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm glad that also the masculine part is playing a role somewhere, and it's not.
Yeah, I gotta get him in there. And like I said, he's
Even
responsible for
though,
the logo in my group too. He has a lot of great ideas too. I can't exclude the men.
Tamairo, I really appreciate the conversation with you. Thank you so much. I'm sending the best regards to Wisconsin and Milwaukee. I put your contact details into the show notes, and we stay in touch and
Please
we talk
do.
soon. And I really
Thank you.
appreciate your energy. And say lovely regards to your husband.
All right, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out, I have no problem doing that. And I look forward to doing business with you and your lady. Okay?
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Okay, have you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you by Holocasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.